Okay, so Ashley, she said, can you talk a little more about making offers, especially with this being a seller's market? While we know some people are more distressed than others, what model are you guys following? We are following the model of like, take a big, deep breath and say the ridiculous offer that you came up with, because it really comes down to the numbers. And Sean says this quite a bit, like, we're deal finders, not deal creators. So if the numbers make sense, the numbers make sense. And the blow is softened by if you've built good rapport and you didn't dive straight into, hey, I'm looking to buy a house. What does it look like? And, you go right into the house questions. It's going to be harder when you come in and make those offers that you're like, there's no way in heck that these people are going to sell their house for that price, but you got to build that rapport. I think more than anything, rapport is honestly the biggest part of this business. Shannon, today, we have 2 properties locked up in our hottest market, which for us is Bell County, Texas. We've got a great buyer who takes anything that we get. So it's super easy, but he wasn't happy with the numbers that we came up with. We knew that it was locked up a little bit, but we've been doing a little bit more of Sean's method, like when in doubt, just lock it up and let's figure it out afterwards. And Shannon had to go back and ask for $100,000 price reduction today, and got it, and got the whole 100,000. So that was mind blowing to me, because I'm like,
the seller, he's my best friend now, so that's important when it comes to rapport,
Yeah.
So.
She's really good about that. Like, sometimes I'll be sitting here listening to her phone calls and I'm like, these people do not care that you know about this in their life, but they do. They love it. They'll sit here and talk with her forever. And I need to get so much better at that, because I'm like, hey, do you want to sell your house? No? Cool. Have a great day. And I'm not like trying to build that rapport. And I'm really bad, and do not do this. When you get a lead come in, just call the lead. Do not try to pre-qualify the lead. Do not go on Zillow and look up what they said that they're asking for versus what comes up on Zillow, because I end up with excuse my language, but with a shitty attitude on a lot of these sellers, because my cold call will put in that they want 500,000. But I went and looked through the notes and I pulled their house up on Zillow and it's only worth 380. So I'm calling them and I'm like, man, why in the hell am I even calling you? Because you already want 120 grand, when realistically, they just didn't want to talk to the Hispanic woman on the phone anymore. So they just shot out some crazy number. But now that I have them on the phone, they're like, well, maybe I would take like 350 or 320, but all of a sudden they've knocked 150 grand off their price just because they're talking to somebody who seems like they call the shots.
And also another note on the talking to sellers and sellers market. One thing that we in desperation tend to forget, which I mentioned earlier, is that we are not begging them to sell us their house. We are asking how we can help them with their problem. And we forget that. I forget that, especially when we don't have any deals on the board, right? I'm like, oh man, I got to get a deal. And in my head, I'm like, I got to get on the phone because I got to get a deal. But the reality is that I need to find somebody who needs actual help with their situation. And when you can reach in and figure out, okay, you need to sell your house. How much do you need to put in your pocket? That's a big question. It's not how much do you want to sell for, but how much money do you need out? Then you can figure out how to help them. And a lot of times when you ask them how much money they need out of it, they'll tell you why. So really, really honing in on remembering that you're trying to help solve someone's problem and you're not trying to fill your pockets. And that's hard when you're in desperation of trying to get a deal,
Thank you, Will and Shannon.